Hello, Mr. Teal. This is the final project completion video of video game strategy and goal setting. Um, in this playthrough, I played the game Celeste, and I played chapters 1 through 7, completing the original game. And yeah, I'll just be answering some questions and responding in accordance to what I played. So, question number 1. What surprised me about what I learned as I moved through this project? So, there were a couple things that surprised me. One of them was how much time it took for the entire process to go. I originally started out with wanting to go through chapters 1 through 9, but I just while I was doing it, the different chapters, it took me so long to get through just a couple chapters and get to the first benchmark of the 4 benchmarks I had planned out, which were to go through chapters 1 through 4. Second is chapters 5 through 7, which is completing all of what I just did here. And then I would complete all of the B-sides, which is once in the game Celeste. Once you find the crystal heart and B-side in each level, those are the two the major collectibles in the game, and besides strawberries, which are a useless collectible that don't influence gameplay, the crystal hearts and B-sides can influence how you get to the 2 DLC levels. And the third benchmark that I had originally would be to play through every single B-side, which I'll explain later, but that was a horrible decision, so I really had to change it based on that. And the fourth was to finish the last two levels, which would have taken a very, very long time. And for good reason, I did not go through that. And yeah, I'll explain later why in question 2, but for now, what I was most surprised about was how much time would be spent planning and preparing for each task. The preparing really helped me as I went through this game. The preparing really helped me as I went through this gameplay, because for one, it really allowed me to see all the different elements that this game had, and it really taught me how many things that you can do with this character, and how much you can accomplish with the 3 simple mechanics this character has. I took a video earlier I'd like to show you to back me up. This is just a brief sample of gameplay from one of the chapters, and every single chapter in the game had extensive gameplay that lasted for the entire chapter, and then would change altogether in the next chapter. So just in this one simple boss fight scene, you can see right here, you can already see so many mechanics that this character used just in these 2 slides. So you can see that first you have that spring from before that she jumped on and was able to get to the next part with. And then there's also these death particles, which climb up the walls and do all sorts of things with the character. And you can also jump on the boss's head to get an extra boost. So you can really do a lot. These creators of this game really did a lot to just go through all these mechanics that you can do, using only the 3 simple tools that the character has, which are run, dash, and jump. Using those 3 tools, the developer was able to do so much. Developers were able to do so much because in each level that they had a complete set of new mechanics. In that 3rd level, there were enemies that would circle around certain platforms that when you stepped on would start to lower, so you'd have to really time your next jump carefully. There were these platforms and walls that would, once you touched them once, you couldn't touch them again, because like the corruption or the bad particles just grew onto the side of the wall. And that was just from one level. You had so many different ways that these 3 mechanics could be used. And in preparing for that, just strategizing about how I could do every single task just showed the amount of complexity it had, and it really helped me because it like kind of got me in the mindset of what I had to go through in this next chapter. So question 2 is, were the benchmarks and goals appropriate for my abilities, and what evidence can I prove to support this answer? So I as I was talking about before, I really believe that the goals that I had were suitable for what I was going to accomplish. Because to support this, I want to show you the in-game notebook. So there's my name, engineer. And inside the in-game notebook, you're able to see the amount of time spent on every single level. So as you can see right here, the three red hearts are from attempting a couple of B-sides just to see how I would fare in that later section of the stage. And wow, I needed to change those benchmarks. Those benchmarks were just too long and too tedious for me to accomplish, because if you look at this, you can see that in total it took me 7.5 hours to complete regular gameplay, and that's including finding all the hearts and B-sides, which is great, but that's only the first half of what I had to do. And time-wise, it would have probably taken me like 2 or 3 times the amount of hours to complete the rest of the game, because specifically looking at the 3 B-sides that I did do just to see and test, those B-sides lasted almost 3 hours for 3 B-sides. And the thing is that each B-side, so completing all 7 of the B-sides would have been my 3rd step, but seeing how long they took, so as you can see right here, the first okay, so I cleared the first 3 levels as reference. The first one I cleared in about 15 minutes, second one 15 minutes, third one an hour. It's fine. The third one gets really complicated near the end. But the B-side was almost twice that. I had a half an hour, 15 minutes again, but then 2 hours for the 3rd B-side. And that's not even counting the 4th B-side, which I attempted, died like a couple hundred times, and did not have the skills necessary to get to the next part. The difficulty ramps up so heavily in these B-sides that taking me 2 hours to complete, taking me double basically for every single clear rate just for the original 7 levels is insane, and would have cost me another 14 hours on this game. And that's only for one step. That's not even including the last step, where I had to complete the last 2 levels. And those last 2 levels are the most difficult levels in this game, even more difficult than the B-sides. And that just really shows how tedious it would have been if I had kept my benchmarks at the original level, which is why I'm so glad that in my first video I recognized that and was able to change the benchmarks to suit what I was capable of doing. So for question 3 is, what were my roadblocks to success? So as I talked about a lot in previous benchmark videos, it really was the hearts and the B-sides that took me the longest. As an example, I'll show you one of the videos that I took on my Switch, and which just proves how tedious it was to find every single heart. This is the heart from chapter 6, which isn't even the most difficult heart to find. Like, I spent a long time finding the other hearts as well. Finding the 6th one was just insane. So here, I'll show you the puzzle. Just a second. Okay, so here's a video of the gameplay. So you find, okay, here, I'll back it up. Okay. So, you find this feather that takes you up to a secret area on the right side. I didn't show it, but you have to break through that, find a second feather, and break through that section. Then you have to climb up a wall in random direction, fly up over here just to get to the entrance of the puzzle to this heart. And then when you get inside, it gets even more crazy because, let me see if I have a picture of it here, but you have to, it took me a long time to figure this out, but this is the puzzle from the first heart in the game where a bunch of birds on a balcony are doing a random specific pattern, and you have to match that pattern in 4 different ways. Backwards, reversed backwards, flipped vertically, and flipped horizontally in order to light the 4 torches and get one of the 7 hearts I had to get, not including the B-sides. And that the hearts and B-sides were definitely my most difficult part of this process and took me a long time to find and locate. So yeah. Okay. Question 4. How did I move through roadblocks and challenges as they arose? So, I kind of use 2 strategies when moving through roadblocks and challenges. It's kind of obvious, but my main strategy was just to press on through, just to keep going and try not to like worry about how much time I'm spending on this one level or how much I need to think about this level and like, oh, I'm not good enough or whatever. I just need to push through and just keep trying and trying and trying and dying. In the end, here, let me show you this. But I died like 51 times in this entire playthrough. So I was just going through the same level over and over and over again, the same couple slides over and over and over again. But I just did not give up. And then, like, after a while, if I was encountering like too much stress or something, or like the first strategy wasn't working, I was just stuck on that one part, I would just stop for like 10 minutes, get some water, get a breather, and then I'd come back and it would be so much easier. Those were my 2 ways I would get through any roadblocks and challenges. Since most of this game is technical, most of the roadblocks were just me trying to get past a certain section, or with the hearts and B-sides, it was finding them, and that was its own challenge. But just really pushing through and like taking my time to recover was really helpful in this. So question 5 is, how closely did I follow the strategic plan for each benchmark? How did planning lead to success and even failure? So as an example for this, you're gonna have to look at my computer here because it'll be hard to show you. But I can try. Basically, I followed the strategic action resources required and stuff pretty well. The date was a little off since this is June, I think 6th, and I wanted this done by yesterday. But for all the other sections of the benchmark, I did go through them pretty well. I followed them basically to the T, since most of them were pretty straightforward. It was mostly about preparation, because since a lot of this game is puzzle solving and just technical skills, just knowing what's coming ahead, or like trying to like look ahead and see like some obstacles or enemies or something, really helped me like prepare and get me in the mindset for going through each challenge. And that's really, I think I did follow most of the benchmarks to a T for the majority of the run, because I just needed the strategic plan to follow, and I was able to get through this game much quicker. I had played most of the game previously like a long time ago, so I didn't really remember much. And I finished that game in like 21 hours, I think. So getting it under 7 hours was much better. And that was before DLC, so yeah. I'm really glad that I was able to cut my time down by so much. Which would have made it even more difficult if I had done the DLC. Okay, so what should the teacher know about the work that I did to complete the ultimate goal and or objective? I think that you should know that while the objective was somewhat straightforward, like get through these specific chapters, find these B-sides and stuff, I spent a lot of time like preparing and just working through and working at this ultimate goal. I really had the mindset of I have to finish this, I have to get it done, I have to go through this. I did the same thing over and over and over again, as you can tell by my death count and hour count, as I showed you before. I really tried to push through and just try to get to that next challenge. And yeah, I used my strategies from before, and I really was in the mind. It's all about the mindset, really. I also play a game called Super Smash Bros. And in that game, I really have to focus on what I'm like. I have to really pay close attention to how I accomplish a certain task and how I get through the game. This was kind of the same concept. I really had to focus and make sure I was my peak performance to get through the level and just keep going. If I was given the opportunity, one thing I would change about my project outcome would be, I think my outcome was pretty good, but obviously if I had like 30 or 40 hours more and the amount of time that I wish I had, which I probably will get to sometime during summer or something, but I would like to finish the last two DLC chapters. I've purposely tried not to look at any spoilers or anything on the internet, and I really would like to finish that. I guess also my final change would be to I would try to get things done a little sooner. Like, I feel like maybe if I had really, I don't know, maybe if I had like pushed harder, I could have got this in by yesterday and like saved myself a little bit of anxiety with my other classes and everything. So that's kind of my goal for everything, but it applies to this as well. So yeah, thank you for listening to this, and I really hope you have a great summer. I'll see you next year for some more Fear. So yeah, bye.